What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Draft Day Dynasties. I'm C. Jackson Cowart, the community manager here at Wolverine Studios, and I appreciate you joining us for this 5th episode of the streaming series of Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2022. If you haven't seen our first 4 episodes of this series, go ahead and check those out. You can get them all on YouTube. The most recent one should be on Twitch. You go ahead and check that out after this stream, unless you're really important to catch up here. For those that are caught up and have been following along the whole time, you know where we're at here. We're nearing the end of the recruiting cycle, and we're starting our first practice run in our first year with Hawaii, which, I'll be honest, this first year is already proving to be a little bit more challenging than I expected when they offered me $130,000 to take this job, a few in-game months ago. So, in this episode, we're going to finish up our home visits for the summer and essentially wrap up the recruiting cycle. And then we're going to start our practice plan, which means getting a sense of our team overall and what traits we really want to emphasize with the players that we already have on the roster. And if we have time at the end, I really want to get your guys' feedback on what you think the starting lineup should look like so that we can have that ready to go for when we start the season, hopefully in next week's sim. So if you're in the stream now and you're following along, definitely hop in the chat. Let me know. Say hello. Let me know what you think about our recruiting class so far. It's a bit of a light one with just one player down here, RASHAW. That was probably the biggest moment of the entire stream is when he committed to us. So first ever commit under this coaching staff. So let us know what you think of that and what you think we should do with the lineup moving forward. Before we start, I do want to mention just one thing. Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 2022 is on a massive sale right now ahead of the NBA playoffs. You can get it for less than $25, which is way down from the list price of $40. So if you're a fan of basketball and you're a fan of Wolverine Studios, which I imagine if you're watching this, you're probably a fan of both, I would get that on the Wolverine Studios website. It's also on sale for just under $30 on Steam if you prefer to play there. Do that after this stream if you will, but I highly recommend that game. And while you're at it, go ahead and leave a review of this game on Steam, on GM Games if you found us there. Shout out to our friends over there, or wherever else you found us, and let us know what you think of the game or this stream or whatever questions you have on the Wolverine Studios forums, on Discord, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. We're everywhere, guys. So wherever you find us, let us know what you think. So let's get started right here with this episode, finishing up recruiting. I do just want to point out before we go any further, without any scouting at all, with absolutely no idea of what our opponent is going to look like, our coaching staff is giving us an 89% chance of winning our season opener against North Carolina. So that's the type of confidence that I like to have on our staff. We are very, very confident in our abilities on the Big Island. So before we jump into it too much, let's just take a recap, take an assessment of where we're at here. It's October 2nd. We're pretty far into recruiting. We've only got one commit, but I do feel really good about his ability to contribute, hopefully, in his first year once we start with 2022. Bill is in the chat saying, RASHAW is good for Hawaii. He was decent at camp, but he wants playing time. Can you sort by position when working on the lineup? Yeah, definitely can do that. RASHAW is someone I'm super excited about bringing in. If you go, let's just go right to the recruiting page here and take a look at RASHAW and remember really what we're getting here. So this is a guy, he can really do it all. I mean, he's 6'5", 214 pounds, B- to C+ pretty much everywhere, which, hey, we'll take that at Hawaii. Good shot blocker, decent passer, decent scorer. I mean, this is the type of guy that I really think is going to be successful in this 1-3-1 zone that we're going to run in Hawaii. Bill says I would check back on the scout evaluation, which might change by the time the season starts. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's going to change pretty quickly once they realize exactly what team we're going up against. But I really appreciate our staff's early confidence in what we have going here at Hawaii. So this is RASHAW. This is the first commit that we have. We'll hop into the rest of recruiting in just a bit here, but I think we might as well start by taking a look at the guys on our roster now and, what we want them to look like for this season, what we want that lineup to look like, and what we want to be practicing. So if you look up here, practice and recruit, that's where we're at. Our handy-dandy inbox is going to tell us the same thing. Practice begins. So before we advance any further into recruiting, we're going to want to set that practice schedule up here. So we can hop into that in a minute, but it doesn't really help to do that until we know what we even want to practice. So let's go down to the strategy screen for a second and see what our guys are knowledgeable about. This is one of my favorite screens in the entire game, just from an aesthetics perspective. This is relatively new to the college basketball series. Not this year, but I believe the year before is when Gary introduced this really, really handy chart, table, whatever you want to call this, that lets you know just how effective your guys are at every set in the game. So on offense, if we start here, it's pretty obvious that the coaching staff before us, emphasize the motion offense. That's what we have here. In theory, we're going to play this 86% of the time. I think that's going to change by the time this episode is done. But motion offense, that's something we should feel confident in. The flex offense is something that we can confidently run from a knowledge perspective. Not so sure about an actual personnel strategic perspective, which we'll get into in just a minute. And then high post, our guys are clueless there. God forbid we run the shuffle offense. Only Charity has ever even heard of the shuffle offense, so that's a no-go. And then the Princeton offense, which is kind of what I have my eye on here. So if you're a veteran in this game, you're very familiar with what these sets look like. If you're a veteran of basketball, you're probably familiar as well. But if you go through these, it will say down here what you should be looking for in your players if you're going to run any of these sets. So motion offense, pretty versatile. We're going to be able to run that with anybody, and it can't hurt to have that in our repertoire, especially because our guys do know how to run it. But let's take a look at the other ones here. So the flex is another candidate for what we could run with Hawaii. But when you look down here, it says that they all need to be good ball handlers and passers. If you remember from following this stream along in our previous 5 episodes, or previous 4 episodes, and I'll show you again in a minute, we do not have good ball handlers. That is not something we should be emphasizing on our team. So even though our guys know how to run the flex offense, I don't know how confident I feel in them doing so. So we'll probably leave that alone. Bree says, did you buy more raw beef from the last episode, referring to the beef that is starting between Hawaii and Provo and some other schools, Cal Irvine, those that are poaching our great Hawaii prospects. Now, Mike Jordan wasn't a Hawaii prospect, but he certainly felt like one with how attached we were to him. We'll need to get this set ready so that we can beat the heck out of Provo when we play them. So high post, we can read what it says down here, but this just really isn't something that is going to cater to what we have. We're a small team. I don't really need our swingmen posting up. Like, that's just not really what we're going to do. Shuffle offense. I've never run that for a full season. I think maybe I had one team that was kind of shuffle heavy in year 1. I'm not a huge fan of it just because I'm not a huge fan of running through the posts unless you're really going to be like a big heavy offense, 2 posts, and at that point you might as well just run the triangle. So I'm not a big fan of the shuffle. Doesn't mean you can't run it. If you got the personnel to make it work, awesome, good on you. That's not how we feel at Hawaii. What we do feel good about is the Princeton offense. This is one of my favorite offenses to run in this game. I know I'm not alone there. Some of the veterans of this community swear by the Princeton offense. We need a good passing center because this is going to be an offense all about passing, all about cutting, all about really knowing where guys are supposed to be, opening up opportunities down low along the 3-point line. I really, really, really like this offense. So this is what we're going to do. We do have one issue in the fact that our starting center is not great, and we'll hop into that in just a minute. Or I guess right now, I'll show you guys what we have to work with here. Let's sort by overall, and let me first show you the height issue that we're working with. I feel a bit like a military academy with not really that many players over 6'5", 6'6". That's kind of... We do have some rangy guys in the 6'7", 6'8" mold, but there's nobody that's really going to be big enough to keep up with some of the behemoths we might run into in the Great Pacific Conference. So if you go to ratings here and you sort by just overall, right? Let's get the best, most talented guys on the court. It's pretty clear that we're center to void. Our 6 best players are all the 1 through 4, and only one of them is a power forward, and that's IMARI Charity. And look, he's 6'7", he's 203. Like, he's a power forward in his dreams. We'll probably play him as one, but this is a small forward, masquerading as a power forward for this really, really small Hawaii team. So we have to keep that in mind, that we're going to be playing small. On defense, we're going to be running a 1-3-1 zone. That's great. That's excellent. That fits exactly what we want. On offense, it's going to be trickier. But I do feel pretty confident that the best thing for our skill set, and the skills that we have here, which is really good passers among our best players, some decent scorers, some decent shooters, but not really that many guys that can handle the ball. Waldman can handle the ball. He'll be our starting point guard. That's great. Thank you, Waldman. The ball will be in your hands every single possession. But, Amari Charity, our best player, is a 20 at handling. That's not really what we're looking for, in terms of running an offense outside of Princeton. So I really think that's what we'll do. We're going to have to figure out what those lineups look like, but we can do that at the end of this episode or at the very beginning of the next one. So let's just go back to our strategy. We know that we are going to be running the Princeton. So let's go ahead and change that right now. Motion offense, we can stick with maybe 15 for now just because it is something these guys know, and it does work with pretty much any personnel. But this is going to be a heavy, heavy-duty Princeton offense here. So this is just for what we're going to run when the actual games come. This isn't setting the practice plan. We'll do that at the end. But I like to do it in this way. I like to set, okay, what are you actually going to run during the season? And then set the practice plan accordingly. So in terms of offensive focus, I'm kind of thinking we're going to favor the outside just because we do have those shooters. We are such good passers. I think we can create some open opportunities. And especially if we're running up-tempo, I love to run up-tempo, outside favored shooting teams and just really try to win by volume and volatility. Especially because we're not, look, let's be real. None of these guys are listening. I don't want to hurt them or their families. This is not the most talented team that I've ever coached. So I think if we can increase the volatility, that's always a good thing. And then offensive set usage, let's go around 80%. I think this is a team that by the end of this is going to be somewhat knowledgeable about the Princeton offense, pretty knowledgeable about the motion offense. This is a team that should really lean into coaching. So we go over to the defense. I'm not going to spend a ton of time here because I know what we're doing here. I am through and through a 1-3-1 coach. This is a 1-3-1 roster. Everybody here knows the 1-3-1, and if they don't, they're about to learn it real quick. If you're not familiar, so rude, these kids have heart, coach, says Zach the Whack. Well, hey, that's why I said that I didn't say it with them listening. Hopefully they don't hop onto the stream. If you're not familiar with the 1-3-1 zone, a little recap. It's good for defending outside shooters at the point and wings, but allows the offense to attack from the corners and low post. That's a concern, our low post defense. But guess what? That's a concern anyway, because our best, big guy is 6'8", and really our best big guy is 6'7" and like 205 sopping wet. So we need to run zone. And I think if we can run a zone that's going to force a lot of turnovers, like I said, I think in the very first episode, if you can be aggressive on offense and aggressive on defense, that's a good strategy. So we're going to definitely be going hard on that. Man-to-man, 50%, that sounds nice in theory. I'm going 10%, guys. I'm running the 1-3-1 zone. In fact, by the end of this stream, I might change this to 100. I am all in on this zone. Have fun defending it. Have fun teaching your guys how to pass against the 1-3-1. If you've ever watched it in college hoops, it's tough to actually prepare to play against a team that's crowding the passing lanes like that. So, and then in terms of pressure defense, full court man-to-man, that's fine with me. Sometimes I like to mess around with these press defenses, but none of our guys know it. They all know the full court man-to-man. Let's just stick with that. So we hop up to the practice plan, and let's just set this accordingly, right? We know that we want to run a ton of 1-3-1 zone. Our guys already know man-to-man. I don't need to teach them that anymore. I know some people like to keep at least 5-10% here. That's not me. Our guys know it. They're rarely going to use it. We're going to go heavy on the zone. Motion offense, same thing. We're barely going to run it. I don't need to teach these guys any more motion. I don't need to teach them any flex because they're not going to be running that at all. I need to teach them a lot of Princeton offense. So we bring this, let's maybe do 35 here, and then keep the 5 here, so we're 50% of our practice time is spent on offense. And then for the 50% spent on defense, let's learn a little bit more about full court man-to-man, but let's really emphasize this 1-3-1 zone. Like, that is the cornerstone of this team. In fact, I'm going to bring this down a little bit. 45% on offense and 55% overall on defense. This is a defensive-minded team. We hired an assistant coach that's all about defense. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's the only coach on the staff that knows anything about offense or defense, and he knows a lot about defense. So that's a good sign for us. So that's our practice plan. And now we can start running practice after we finish recruiting. So we'll hop back to here, And gosh, it is really tough to look at this screen and remember all of the failures that we've had. Speaking of one failure, Pete Stapleton's still got a scholarship pending. Sorry, buddy. We don't ever want to hear from you again. So let's go back to the call list. And if you remember, we can hop to the inbox here to painfully remind ourselves of how these home visits went before. The last batch of home visits that we had, William Smith, can't see myself playing for you. Marcus Floyd thought it went well. That's great. I don't think it went very well because I don't think Marcus Floyd is really that good. Pete Stapleton, my parents weren't too impressed. Kind of an offensive thing to say over email, but that's fine. And then unfortunately, Leon Eldridge says, I can't see myself playing for you. That's a guy that we had offered a scholarship to. We thought that visit was going to go really well, and it simply didn't. He's still right here. Leon Eldridge still has cool interest. He's still number 2 with us. I'm still really excited about this combination of athleticism, shooting, passing, stealing. Like, this is still somebody that I'm going to keep a scholarship out to, and in fact, I might even visit him right now. But it's not looking good. Like, it didn't go well last time. So I think we're going to have to visit him again, and we're going to have to pitch location, because that's the only thing that really we can nail this guy down on. And we're still number 2 on the board. So, I don't feel good about the fact that the last visit didn't go well. But, like, he's still a target of ours. So I'm going to spend one of my in-home visits on Eldridge and just hope that goes well. Yeah, Zach says, good news, you're still number 2 on the list. That's really the only good news we have left with Leon Eldridge. So we're going to visit him. I'm still really enamored with Chris Baxter. I probably shouldn't be. This is probably a waste. But guys, let's be honest. This is all a waste. These are a bunch of 1-star guys. Like, we're not changing the culture of Hawaii by chasing 1-star guys. So this is our last week of in-home visits. We don't want to waste it. But, like, we got to really shoot for the moon here. We got to get guys that are actually going to be worth recruiting. And if we swing and miss, like, that's fine. We're going to have so much money for the transfer portal, which is, a game-changing addition to this year's version. So if we have a bunch of money and we have a couple scholarships left at the end of this, like, that's going to be fine. That's not a big deal. So I think we swing for the fences with Chris Baxter. The one thing we know about him is he values location, and guess what? He's in Hawaii. And point to the school that is better located for Chris Baxter than Hawaii. Can't find it. So I'm going to call Chris Baxter, try to reinitiate some interest here. That's not going to work, but look, we're still going to visit him because we got to take a chance on this guy. So we're going to visit Chris Baxter. I think Marcus Floyd is someone that is somewhat interesting. We got that email from him saying that it went well when he visited. Great at inside shooting, decent passing, decent rebounder. He didn't stand out at camp, but like, this is the type of guy, 6'10", 271 in the middle of our zone. This is the type of player that could really make an impact. So let's just talk a little bit to him, try to drum up some interest, and then I think we visit. And honestly, I think maybe we offer a scholarship, because who else are we getting at this point that's going to be better than this guy? He's a B-. He fits what we need. We need a center quickly because our centers are really bad. So Marcus Floyd, I think it was playing time, right? Yeah, playing time is the way that we're going to get to Marcus's heart. So playing time, pitch, and honestly, I kind of want to offer it to Chris Baxter as well. But, we already gave to RASHAW. We're already committed to Eldridge. So I think for now, we offer to Marcus Floyd, and we see how that goes. And if it goes well with Chris Baxter, we can offer him a scholarship quickly, cut some dead weight from the team. So offer the scholarship there, and then we have one more visit. I think maybe we isolate, somebody that has, a compelling rating of about anything. Can we get somebody that's super athletic maybe? Is there anybody that's an excellent shooter? Honestly, Trenton Irwin kind of fits a lot of this. Athletic, good shooter, good ball handler, good passer. Can't shoot inside, can't block, and can't play defense. But, like, we are running a zone, so I could deal with it. He's from Hawaii. Maybe we just throw a bone to this guy because, who else is it, right? Like, there's nobody else that's really going to be that incredible at this rate. So let's pitch location to him, and let's call that a week for recruiting, because this is getting rough near the end. Not a lot. I mean, nobody's going to come visit campus. That's been very, very clear throughout the course of this. I mean, I know I said at the top of this, I mentioned earlier that they offered me $130,000 to take this job. I know some of you might have been thinking, hey, that kind of sounds like a sweet gig. 2 things you're not considering. 1, the tax rates in Hawaii. 2, the high cost of living in Hawaii. Actually, 3 things. 3, the fact that there's not a 17-year-old in the country that apparently wants to take a visit to Hawaii, all expenses paid. I don't know what I'm doing wrong as the coach here, but no one wants to visit Hawaii. So, rant over. But Trenton Irwin, we will come visit you in Hawaii, and we are excited to meet you and your family. So that's a week in recruiting, and let's see how this goes. I mean, home visits, last chance we have to do this for months, so this is big. I'm going to quickly go to the inbox here to not spoil it. This is big, guys. Marcus Floyd. Okay, speaking of literally big, 6'10", 270. Marcus Floyd, you want to play for us? There he is. We got Marcus Floyd. Look at that. Look at that. Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Incredible. Our recruiting rating comes up clutch. Marcus Floyd, welcome to the Hawaii family. Absolutely incredible. Trenton Irwin thought the visit went well. Marcus Floyd obviously thought the visit went well. Chris Baxter can't see himself playing for us. That's fine. And neither can Leon Eldridge. So at this point, I think we revoke the scholarship from Eldridge, and I think that we quit on Chris Baxter. Because, yeah, I mean, if we look at Eldridge, well, we were 2, now we're 3. I mean, people are moving ahead of us. These home visits aren't going well. I think that might be it for Eldridge. You know, we're talking about a 1-star guy. Like, this isn't really worth our time at this point. But if we can get someone like Irwin, who we're number 1 on his list, I mean, I don't know if it's really worth the scholarship for this guy, but he's someone, right? Like, probably convert him to a point guard. He kind of looks like one, just in terms of his height, weight, traits. Like, you know, it's probably either him or Mark Davis, which you guys know I haven't really been impressed with Mark Davis since the very beginning. You know, I don't think he really was wowing anybody in camp. So that's going to be a tough decision. That might be one, you know, I'll give, yeah, F defense is really, really bad. That's tough to move past. I mean, we are a zone team, so, like, we can probably get away with it. Or I think it's a D defense for Irwin. But, yeah, that's Bill Dozer saying we can probably do better on the transfer portal. Honestly, we can probably do better than both these guys. So I'm thinking revoke the scholarship from Eldridge. Sorry, buddy, but you waited too long to take it. And then Irwin's going to be here. Like, we don't really need to worry about that. Irwin's not going anywhere. He wants us badly. Mark Davis, well, kind of wants us badly. He wants someone else a little more. I think we can wait on these two. I'm not going to be crying if we don't get Trenton Irwin. So let's remove Denson, do a little bit of screen cleanup here on that guy, that guy, that guy. There we go. So everybody on the board is still potentially interested in us, but probably not. You know, see if we can get Broderick Underwood to change his tune. He's not going to. Dan Fleming, maybe he'll feel differently. He's not going to. Yeah, I don't think we're going to flip any of these guys. And Eldridge is just, I mean, he's furious because we took away his scholarship. And understandably so. We're not even on, well, he's says cool, but that'll probably update once he realizes what we've done. So that looks good to me. I mean, there's nothing left we're going to do to these guys. We can call them, but I don't even know who we're calling at this stage, right? What are we even calling for? We're not learning anything. Like Chris Baxter, I can give him another call, but he just told us he basically never wants us to come visit his home again. So I think we get the message there, Chris. So let's just advance another week here. So going into this third week again, home visits are over. This is just going to be another quiet period of recruiting. And it's going to be, you know, more of the same, except let's take William Smith off the board now too. It's just a lot of nothing here in terms of guys that we're actually interested in. We'll go back to the bio to get a sense of the star ratings. It's just, this is not our crop, but I'm very, very happy that we got the two guys that we got. I mean, 1-2 punch of RASHAW. Obviously, we know what RASHAW is going to bring. And then Marcus Floyd getting that 6'10", 270 down low in the middle of the zone. And I think our starting center this year should be scared that he's going to lose his job next year. So I think we can leave this scholarship in hand and not really offer it to any of these guys who aren't offering much to us. And let's go ahead and just go another week. There are not many weeks that I just sort of skip without doing anything, but what's film going to do, right? Nobody wants to come visit. What's a host visit pitch going to do? And we're not offering this scholarship to anybody. So unless there's somebody we feel compelled to call or text, and that doesn't really fit any of these guys, I think we're just going to go with $30,000 into the season and let that be what it is. Maybe grab some guys, late that either programs, these guys fail their SATs, or, programs are committed to guys and bail on other ones, and those guys lose interest, get scholarships revoked, something like that. I think maybe, we could turn something at that point, maybe even international, but I think that's something we focus on down the line, maybe closer to March when we have those in-home visits again. We can start flying all across the world. So we'll advance again, and that should bring us to, I believe that's going to bring us to the redshirt reminder here coming up. If it's not now, yeah, practice is underway, so I think we have one more week of that, and we can just go ahead and fly through here. And it should bring us to the redshirt reminder. And don't overlook this, because redshirts can certainly be a tool that can help you build a sustainable program if you do it right. So let's look at our email. That's just going to let us know, hey, redshirt reminder. It's the last chance to redshirt, guys. So I'm curious all of your thoughts as you look at this roster, who you might redshirt. I like to actually sort it by potential, because the idea of redshirting is, you're saving a year of their production that will really only be valuable on the back end. You're essentially giving them a senior year that they wouldn't have otherwise by taking it now. So when I look at the board, the ones that jump out to me, Randy Brown potentially, but it is tough when we only have 3 rostered centers and one of them is a walk-on. I think we probably are going to want to have another center available to us that isn't redshirted. Bill says maybe you check in on 4-star internationals after SAT scores arrive. He's talking about recruiting. That's a great call. Once we know SAT scores, see who's eligible, see who's not, figure out which guys haven't committed yet, and attack there. So we're looking at red shirts. We haven't set our lineup yet. That's something that we're going to do probably either at the beginning of next stream, or I might just do that little off-camera magic there. This really isn't going to be a terribly difficult lineup to set. But, when you look at this, you look at Aaron Wright and Bernard Gilbert, these are 2 guys who have the potential to be game-changing players for Hawaii. They're both freshmen, and I'm not sure either one of them is ready to play right now. You look at their defense, 20 and 24, that's among the worst defense of anybody on the team, at least anybody that's playable quality. You come over here to athleticism, Gilbert is just not athletic. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily going to change with a red shirt, but that's not a guy that I feel comfortable tossing into the rotation right now. You look at Aaron Wright, he's a point guard, but he's not that good at passing, and he's not that good at scoring, and he's not really contributing anything else across the board. So can we make it work without those 2 guys if we redshirt? I mean, I think so. We got a pretty decent top 6 here, top 7, knowing that Willis is our center that we're going to have to ride. They're essentially our 8th and 9th best players. And yeah, it's going to suck to not have those guys, especially when we're running a zone and really throwing depth at other teams and trying to wear them down. But Willis is ready to play. The other Willis brother, Kyle Penn, he's a junior. He knows our system. We're probably going to have to see some minutes from Randy Brown, just the fact that he's a center. So I think that at the very least, sort by this again, at the very least, I think that Aaron Wright is a redshirt candidate, and to be honest, I think Gilbert is too. So let's go ahead and redshirt those guys. You can only redshirt 2 players a year. So there's Wright, there's Gilbert. So we'll redshirt those 2, and then make sure nothing crazy is happening on the recruiting board, but I don't believe it is. And just looking to see who's hot here. Mark Davis. Mark Davis is hot on us and hot on the rankings. It's November 6th. Looks like there was a bit of a re-rank. He jumped quite a bit. But again, this is still a 1-star guy with a B- who doesn't really contribute all that much. So I think we're going to leave that alone, other than, hey, we'll shoot him a text and we'll let him know that we're thinking of him. Actually, what do you think about our school? Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Talk to Mark Davis. I think that's all we need to do there. And let's go ahead and advance. So I think this is going to bring us right up to the doorstep of the season here. If it's November 6th, we're getting awfully close. So that will probably wrap up this episode around 30 minutes. I know we've gone longer in previous episodes and kind of fluctuated between 45, an hour, 30 minutes. We're going to try to keep these a bit tighter to 30 minutes from here on. Makes it easier for you guys to know what to prep for, how much time to commit in your nights on Thursday nights. And I appreciate you guys so much for hopping on and checking out these streams and helping me figure out what to do with this eclectic recruiting board and collection of talent in Hawaii that we have, helping us set our practice plan. And let's see the fruits of that labor. Let's go to the strategy page and see just how much do these players know the Princeton offense. I feel pretty good about that. IMARI Charity, remember, he was a freshman. He is a freshman, but he knew nothing. He was classic freshman on campus, didn't know anything about the Princeton offense. 23 is not great, but, it's better than 10, right? So, our freshmen are picking it up. We have some mid-60s from our seniors. That's decent. Don't mind that. And then if you go on defense, where we really have been emphasizing the 1-3-1, I can work with that. I can definitely work with that. And that's only going to get better as the season continues, as we continue to run practice each week. And these guys learn more and more about these sets. I think that we really could be an absolute pest. That's, I think, the best way to describe Hawaii basketball this year. We are going to be a pest. Forcing turnovers, whipping the ball all around the court on offense. So I feel pretty good about that. So season upcoming. In the next episode, I think we're just going to go ahead and let her rip. Start the season. I think we'll sim a few games, maybe even up to the conference tournament, and then look back and go through kind of the highlights of the season, what the big moments were for our players, which lineup combinations worked best, maybe which ones we should emphasize, and get ready for what lies ahead at the end of that first year for Hawaii. So 2 things before we go. One, like always, we would love if you guys subscribe to the Twitch channel. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free sub that you can use on Twitch just for linking those 2 accounts. So you might as well use it, and you might as well use it on us. It helps us out tremendously, and it helps us know, that we're resonating with what we're doing and that you guys are connecting with it and appreciating these streams and just what we do in general. So it helps me, helps the company. Would really appreciate if you guys are willing to toss out a sub to us on our Twitch account. And like I said last week, the offer still stands. If you send me a screenshot of you subbing to us on Twitch, I will tell you which Hawaiian fish you most resemble based on your username. That's not something that you want to miss. So that's the first thing. Second thing, also related to our social media channels, we're going to be rolling out something that I'm pretty excited about across our social media platforms tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you too much here. I'm going to tease it a little bit. So just keep your eye out for that on our Twitter, Instagram, on the Discord. We're going to be trying out something new to hopefully connect the community a bit and learn more about what you guys are doing in your sims and in your associations. So speaking of social, be sure to let us know what you think of this episode, this series, and the game itself on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, here on Twitch, on YouTube, Discord, which is growing by the day, our Slack channel, and of course the official Wolverine Studios forums, which is how I found this game, how people continue to find the game, and kind of the original place that this community started. So check us out in all those places. And if you ever want to reach out to me directly, you can reach me here on Twitch or on Twitter at CJacksonCowart. You can reach me on the Discord, and you can find me on the Wolverine Studios forums. If you ever post anything there, I will hopefully be able to get back to you sometimes within a few minutes, sometimes within a day or two. So reach out to us there. Let us know what you think about what we're doing. If there's any other streams you want to see, any videos you want to see, really anything that you want from me or from us. The goal is for us to meet the community's needs and help expand this awesome community that we have with this game and with the entire lineup. So with all that said, I appreciate you guys watching on this Thursday night, and I will see you next time.